We were that couple. We had everything everyone wanted. Terrence was the varsity football team captain, and I was the president of the Honor Society and captain of the varsity cheerleading team. I even bought into the hype of our relationship. At the time, it did seem perfect. I truly believe there were some perfect moments. We met at the first game of my freshman year and hit it off right away. After the game, we met up at the local hangout called The Spot. It was a small burgundy, one-level brick building with only one way in and one way out. There was no air conditioning, and the unkemptness of the waitresses and cooks should have left us suspicious of our food orders. But it was all in fun. It stayed packed, and that night was no different. Someone from every group was represented. From cheerleaders to glee club members, football players, dance team, and a slew of game attendees. If you were supposed to find a date, it would happen at The Spot. That night, we found a corner booth furnished with brown leather seating with white stitching. After about 15 minutes of just being entertained by the surrounding environment, we began talking. When he spoke, I sort of turned all the noise out. I was focused only on him. He went on and on about himself, football, and how he was going to be a big football star once he graduated. I listened mostly, admiring his confidence and decisiveness about where he wanted to go in life. At the end of the night, we exchanged numbers and began dating immediately. I thought he would be everything I would ever need and hope for in a friend, husband, and provider. I was right about the provider, but my confidence regarding his ability to be a good friend and husband diminished quickly over time. To this day, I don't know what caused the change, and that's real. You gotta find out more. Okay, I'm gonna move on to Sonia. It took me a long time to realize that today doesn't define who I am. I haven't always been who I look to be. Between my yesterday and what keeps me willing to work past the challenges I find myself creating, it's all me. The question continues to be, how do I keep creating these challenges? I mean, as soon as I got in place, the ladies were all over me, not physically, but they did let me know in their own ways that they were watching me. I could feel the stench of their frustration and trapped spirits crawl all over me. It wasn't a good feeling. It wasn't a feeling at all. The guard walked me into the facility for intake. There I was, told to turn in all my items attached to my body, including my underwear. They took everything, then it hit me. I was no longer in control of my life. I knew I just had to do as I was told until I finished all my time. The only thing good that came out of jail was Cecilia. Cecilia was the first real woman that came to me. I say real because she didn't come with any personal motive. She was just being herself. Cecilia was a 50-year-old widow. Her husband, Osef, died from a car accident when they were in their 40s. Her large stature called for a certain amount of automatic respect, but her personality demanded more. No one could blatantly disrespect or mistreat Cecilia. She was a small bark and a big bite. Once a drug dealer trying to make ends meet after Osef died, Cecilia got caught by some undercover investigators. Next thing she knew, she was in jail. She told me how things operated, who not to or who to mess with, where to go, where not to be at certain times. She took me under her wings like I was her daughter. As a matter of fact, she always spoke of how I reminded her much of her daughter, Jean. Jean was killed in a gang shootout. Cecilia hadn't even been in jail 6 months before she got the news. She never got a chance to tell her bye. So I think she used me to comfort her. I was okay with that because I needed all the comfort and the nurturing that she was willing to give me. And that's Sonia. Go read and see next. And last but not least is Julian, the male character. It didn't matter how hard I worked, how much I studied, the void still remained. I never thought there was an ending for me. I was invincible. These thoughts that consume my every moment won't let me live freely. They won't seem to allow me to set forth and live out the remaining gifts and dreams I possess. I am 32 years old and CFO of a very well-off marketing firm. No one else in my family has been this successful with their career. I just wish I were able to share it with them. Every day I deal with influential professionals. I control or manage several accounts for major companies. Internationally, I make good money. I never hurt for anything. I can afford many of the amenities in life, investment opportunities, a housekeeper named Cornelia. I've employed for 3 years, luxury vehicles and frequent exotic vacations. I gladly volunteer and donate yearly to a charity of my choice. Yet, I have no one to share my success and achievements with. My love life isn't where I want it to be, and my family life is next to non-existent. When I was 18, I finally came out to my parents, Donald and Edna. Having spent 18 juvenile years feeling caged by the inability to live life genuinely, I felt becoming an adult gave me the backbone needed to let my parents know I was homosexual. I practically felt I no longer had to appease their standards for my life. My mind wasn't free. I had become tired of pretending. I spent my entire senior year in high school planning for the day I was going to come clean to my parents. I played the scenario over and over in my head. It had become deja vu, Groundhog's Day or a scratched album, something like that. I imagined my father being shocked but understanding. I envisioned my mother accepting me regardless because I was her only son, her baby at that. About 3 weeks before I was leaving for college, I approached them with my life-changing news. They were devastated. My father more than my mom. I remember standing in the middle of our living room floor. My mom was standing alongside my father's green cloth recliner with her hand on his shoulder, seemingly ready to console my father for whatever they anticipated my speech to be. I started the conversation off describing to them how I never felt like a normal young fella in the neighborhood. I could never really find interest in what many of the other young guys did when it came to talking about women and experimenting. With each word that left my mouth, my father became more enraged and my mom disappointed. And that's Julia.